we are going to be working on the quadratic formula. The great thing about it is that it always works, okay? It always works. We can always find our roots or our zeros, if it has them, using the quadratic formula. So the first thing that we need to do is check and make sure that our equation is in standard form, and our standard form is right here. The biggest thing about being in standard form is that our equation is set equal to 0 right here, equal to 0. Squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Once we see that it is in standard form, we need to identify a, b, and c, which are going to be the numbers along with their signs in front of the variables. Numbers with positive or negative in front of the variable. We do not include the variable in our a, b, and c. The next thing that we will do is we will substitute those into our quadratic formula, which is this equation right here. Then we will simplify everything as much as we can, including the square roots. Okay. So let's look at our first example right here. I'm gonna zoom out so that way we can see the quadratic formula. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy down the quadratic formula to right here first, so I know what I'm filling into each of my spots. All right. So there we go. Now I can zoom back in. All righty. So now, is this set equal to 0? Standard form. Yes, it is. All right. So this is what I'm looking for right here. And I have x squared, x, and a number. That not all problems will have them. Sometimes we will be missing a b or a c, but that will we'll just have a 0 for that value. But as long as we have all of our like terms combined, we are good and ready to go. So I'm going to, my a value is going to be a 1, not this one that's right here, but the one that's in front of the x squared. Because if we don't have a number, it is just the value 1, because we have a variable, but, you know, we can stick a 1 there and it's not going to change our sign or change our equation. Now I'm going to fill in my b, which is going to be a 1 as well, except this one's going to be a -1. And yes, I need to put the negative. And my final value is a c, which is a -12. So now let's go through and solve or combine what we can. So a -1, or the opposite of -1, is a +1. -1 squared. Now, if you put this into your calculator, make sure you put the parentheses, because otherwise it's going to tell you -1, because it's going to square the 1 and then put the negative. So this gives us a +1 minus 4, and I'm going to multiply a and c first, which is going to give me just a -12. 2 times 1 is 2. Let's keep simplifying a little bit here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 4 times -12, which is going to be -48. So this becomes 1 minus a -48. 1 plus 48, which equals 49. Okay. So I can rewrite this problem right here as 1 plus or minus the square root of 49 over 2. Okay. 49 is a perfect square. The square root of 49 is 7. So I'm going to come over here and write my stuff. So I've got a plus and a minus. So I'm going to write 1 plus 7 over 2, because that is my first square root of 7. Then I'm going to put 1 minus 7 over 2. So I've got plus and minus. That's what this means. So this gives me 1 plus 7 is 8 over 2, which equals 4. 1 minus 7 gives me negative 6 over 2, which equals negative 3. So my solutions for this problem are x equals 4 and x equals negative 3. All right, example number 2. Once again, I'm going to go through B, A. All right, now let's write all of our stuff down. Oh, just so that way you'll know. Yes, it is equal to 0. Awesome, check. So my B value is a negative 12. Negative 12 right here again. My A value in this case is a 1, and then a positive 36. So a negative negative 12 gives me a positive 12. Negative 12 squared is 144. 1 times 36 gives me 36. 4 times 36, when I multiply that in the calculator, becomes minus 144 over 2. So right here, 144 minus 144, those will cancel each other out and become 0. And the square root of 0 is 0. So that leaves me with 12 over 2. So my answer is x equals 6. I think I've mentioned the discriminant to you guys, which is what the other side of that notes page that you have on Schoology is the discriminant, which is this value underneath, everything underneath the square root. And that's going to tell you how many roots you have. If it's positive, you're going to have 2. If it's 0, like we see right here, you're only going to have 1 root. And if it's negative, you're going to have no real roots. All right. All right, so now let's look at number 3. Number 3 is not set equal to 0, so now we got to change it around and solve to where it's going to equal 0. So subtract 5 on both sides. This one cancels out and becomes 0. So my new equation is 2x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. Now I have it in standard form. All right, so we're going to write out our equation. So a negative b, so negative 4 plus or minus square root. Remember, you have this formula on the other side of your paper. 4 squared minus 4 times a times c. That's a negative 5 right there. And all of that's going to be over 2 times a, which is 2. So 2 times 2. All right. So this gives me a negative 4 plus or minus, we're running out of a little bit of room over here, 16 minus 4 times 10. And all of this is going to be over 4. Negative 4 plus or minus, over here I'm going to have 16 minus 4 times 10. So 4 times 10, that gives me 40. So 16 minus, oh, that's a negative 10 because that was a negative 5. So it is 16 plus 40, which gives me 56. All right. This answer right here, yeah, if you have something that's not going to simplify pretty, you can leave it with a radical in your answer. However, this answer will get you half credit because it is not in the most simplified form. So let's simplify. So we have the square root of 56. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if there are any factors that are perfect squares. I already know that 25 is not a factor of 56, simply because 25 times 2 is 50, it's 56. So, and I don't want anything that's over half of it. So I'm not going to go any farther than this. So 56 divided by 4 gives me 14. So that is a possibility. And remember, this is going to be that right there. So 56 divided by 9, that actually gives us a decimal. We don't want decimals. We only want whole pretty numbers to see if it's a factor. 56 divided by 16 also gives us a decimal. So these are going to be our factors. And we know that multiplying these two together can be written the same as two square roots being multiplied together. In this case, the square root of 4 is 2, so we can rewrite square root of 56 as 2 root 14. Okay, so that leaves us with negative 4 plus or minus 2 square root of 14 over 4. Once again, this one will only be half credit as well because it is not finished being simplified. 4. So for this, we are going to divide everything by 4. So negative 4 divided by 4 gives us a negative 1, plus or minus 2 divided by 4 is 1/2, and the square root of 14 at the end. So this is the full answer, simplified and everything. These two are technically correct, but they are not simplified. Last example right here. Once again, this problem is not in standard form, so we need to add 5 to both sides. So our new equation becomes 3x squared plus 10x plus 5 equals 0. Then we can go ahead and fill in the quadratic formula. So negative b, which is 10, plus or minus square root of 10 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Once again, you have this formula on the other side. I keep writing a times 3. Okay. When we solve that out, that becomes negative 10 plus or minus 100 minus 4 times 15 all over 6. So let's go ahead and solve under this. 100 minus 4 times 15, that gives us 60. 100 minus 60 gives us 40. So that will be negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 40 over 6. Now we need to simplify that square root of 40. So we're going to check 4, 9, 16. Once again, I'm not going to go above that because anything over that is going to be less than 2. We don't want anything less than 2 because we want whole numbers. So this gives us 10. 40 divided by 9, that gives us a fraction. 40 divided by 16, that also gives us a decimal. So 4 and 10, once again. So we know the square root of 4 becomes 2, and the square root of 10 is all we can simplify to. So option number 1 for answer is 10 plus or minus 2 square root of 10 over 6. Once again, half credit. Full credit, negative 10 over 6 is going to be negative 5 over 3 plus or minus 2 divided by 6 is 1 over 3 divided square root of 10. So once again, this is the fully factored simplified answer that I am looking for.